Alright, so we're going to do brakes and rotor. Second gen 97 Dodge Ram. This is the 1500, but they're all about the same. Parts might vary a little bit. This one is four-wheel drive, obviously. First thing you're going to want to start with is jack the truck up. Got jack stands. It's unsafe to work on just a jack. Got my parts here. Pull my tires off. I went ahead and shot a little ATF and acetone mix on the axle nut and on the bolts that hold the caliper on. Just kind of while I was getting things ready, that way I had a little bit of time to start doing its job. Best thing you'll ever use is ATF acetone. You gotta really shake it up or else they don't naturally mix, so you gotta shake it before you spray it and while you're using it. I guess that doesn't matter because I'm throwing it away, but normally you don't want to get any kind of oil or grease on any of your brake stuff. As you can see here, the squealer has been running for a minute and there's no shoe left. That rotor is just ate up. The opposite side still has quite a bit of meat left on the pad. I'm thinking this caliper may need rebuilt or replaced. I'll probably be getting a rebuild kit and I'll make a separate video showing how to do that, but we'll at least get this one here pulled apart and I'll show you the gist of how to do everything. And I may take this one apart and video it, and if I determine that caliper really does need rebuilt, then I will show you how to put the other side back together. But the other caliper's good, so I'm only replacing this one here. So let's get into it. I've got a hexagon 9mm on my ratchet here. So we're just gonna ease her on out of there. There's two bolts. There's this upper one and the lower one, which, like I said, I did put some oil on there. You can use WD-40 if you want. WD-40 is kind of garbage, but it's better than nothing. I find the best thing, like I said, is ATF and acetone, or even just ATF. A lot of guys just keep a bottle of ATF around and keep a zip tie dipped in it and just pull the, usually they just pull the zip tie out and let it drip. Yeah, we're just gonna pull these here bolts out and I'll be right back once I get that done. Alright, we've got caliper all pulled apart or pulled off. It just undid the bolts, like I said, and drag them right out of there. Just pull it right off the caliper. You know, they always say you need to hang the caliper from something because they're heavy, but I've seen guys undo everything on a rear end except for brake lines, and they were old shitty brake lines, and man, it held the rear end up just fine, so I really don't worry too much about hanging it from something. But if you're worried about it, just take a zip tie or a piece of wire or bungee cord and wrap it up there and hang it on. As you can see, there's about no pad left on that damn thing. But anyways, here it's kind of odd that the rotor has flat spots on the end. But anyways, now we need to just pull this pin out here. I'm just gonna take a pair of pliers and, well, maybe not. I don't know what I did with my pliers. Okay, I'll be right back with some pliers and I'll get that pulled off of there. Okay, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. You don't need to take that nut off. That's for if you're gonna replace all that. If you replace your whole hub, you'll have to replace that, or if you're doing your four-wheel drive arm and stuff, then you'll have to replace that. But Okay, so get them brakes pulled off of there, and then you might have to just break up some of the rust. Whoop. Pull it right off of there, easy peasy. Now we'll open up our box here and make sure they give us all the right stuff, and I'll show you how to go back together with it. I'll just double check we got the right stuff here. Just set the old one on top of there, make sure everything's the same size, which it is. We've got 5 lugs and 5 lugs, so everything should just push right on just like that. Beautiful. Obviously just your wheel and your lug nuts hold that on there. I always, on both sides of this, and do not get any on here, like to put just a little dabble do you on there, just to keep everything from rusting together if you ever have to take it apart to do suspension or anything else. And anti-seize, man, this stuff a little bit goes a long way. Some people probably would say I put way too much on here, but that's okay. I don't really care what other people think. Anyways, now that will not stick here with rust and all the other stuff, which honestly this looks like it's aluminum, so it's probably not going to rust anyways. But so yeah, we'll just slide that back on there. I'm going to take a drill with a wire wheel and just clean all these threads out. I do that on everything I take apart before I put it back together, make sure everything's like it ought to be. So I'm going to do that and then slap this on here, and we'll show you how to attack the brakes here. Clean them up. Ain't got to be perfect, just clean the rust and gunk out of them. Not fun to have to replace these. I mean, honestly, I'm going to do new hubs and everything here soon anyways, but this is just, on anything, a good thing to do when you take it apart. Make sure it goes back together clean and proper. Okay, so got that put back in. Now we're just going to pry this apart here, pull it apart. Screwdriver works good, but I didn't grab one. Come on, pick. Woohoo! Pull that guy out of there, and yeah, there's nothing left. I'd like to say somebody else did that, but it was me. I've been busy. Don't make it right. Take care of your stuff. Then I wouldn't have had to buy a rotor. But I really think this thing has been hanging up, but you can use a C-clamp for this. I'm super cool and have a fancy tool. Thank you, Cornwell Tools. One of my favorite tools. But yeah, you can use a C-clamp. I've seen people use caulking guns, all kinds of things to press that cylinder back. Make room for the new pads. Oh man, that thing's fighting. Yeah, you know, you're pushing all that brake fluid all the way back, feeding through the system. It takes a little pressure to do that, which, as you can see, that, I don't know, honestly, that don't look too bad. This thing's definitely hanging up. She pulls to the passenger side when I brake hard. Just go all the way in with it. Keep on a trucking. Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay. Now we'll just open up our box and stick the new pads in. And, I think I am going to go ahead and rebuild this guy. It needs it. But I'll show you how to throw pads in it real quick. So just double check you're putting the proper ones in the proper place. This is obviously the right pad, they're the same. The other one goes on the other side, and I see that tab there is how you can kind of tell that. But so yeah, now we'll just kind of put her back together the same way we took her apart. I'll show you what to lube, and we got some rubbers to replace here too, it looks like. So there's this rubber, it comes off right here, and then there's this little guy off the other side. Real easy with a pick, you just like that, slap the new ones in, put a little grease in there, a little grease on that, and put the new bushings in, and I'll be back right once I did that. So there is also a rubber seal that goes into this groove in here. Same thing, just reach a pick in there and yank it out. And you just put a new one in. Same way, just a little grease on it. Push her in there, get it in that groove. You might have to use a pick to help you kind of slide it in there. And that's how you do these ones too. And then those ones are really good. You just press it on there. But I'll be right back. Just gonna slide this fella in there. And, not sure if you can see that. I'm just kind of using the pick to slide it into that slot. Sometimes it's easier to go in from the back side and kind of poke it in there. Oh, come on now. There, just like that. Well, you probably couldn't see any of that I just did, and honestly I couldn't see a lot of it either, but there's two of those in the middle, these little ones, and then like I said, there's that big one on the end, and then there's this one that goes here. It's really not a big deal. The best thing to do would be to take one of those wire brushes that's round and run it through there and really kind of clean that end out. I'm just doing the same on this one. I stuck it in. Now I'm taking my pick and sliding everything into this groove here. Come on. That's a pinky does better than anything. Which is actually kind of nice because usually I'm too fat fingered for shit. But okay. That's in there. A-okay. These are kind of a pain to get on. I already kind of greased it a little bit, but I'm just gonna put another little dab on there. These guys are, well, they fit awfully tight, I guess I'm trying to say. Knew a girl like that once. Anyways, just like that, good as new. You might have to take a socket or a mallet and put it on the outside of there, or a screwdriver and a mallet, and tap it on, but I think I got that one on there all the way. And then there's this little guy. I'm just gonna wet. Cool. Look at that. Sliding in there. Well, would you look at that? Dab of grease on there. Same thing there. And obviously these two prongs go in there. Like a glove. Same with this. Instead I'm putting the grease on here, I'm going to put it just right there and right there. And it'll slide right on. Again, stuff really a little goes a long ways, especially on brakes. If your brakes are greasy, you can't stop. Push, 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 push. Easy peasy. Now, you just take your bolts, put them back in here, get them started. Put grease on the bolts, slide this back on, and line everything up, and you're golden, pony boy. Sometimes I use a mallet, sometimes I don't have to. It's fitting a little different just on account of new caliper and everything. It'll go. I'm gonna grab my mallet just to tap her on there, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my camera died. Sorry about that. You don't need a mallet for that. You just slide it in it. Hold your teeth just right, and it'll go right in. Now we're gonna put our pins in, and we're done. So you know, lube up your pins, and I sprayed some of my ATF acetone in here just to, you don't want them to be seized on there. So yeah, we're gonna lube those up, and put a little bit of my no seize on here so the wheel don't stick to it, rust on there, because that sucks when you take your lugs off and your wheel don't want to come off. But yeah, it's real easy. I'll do a little dab of goo on each. That one was probably even maybe a little much. That's okay. Okay, okay. I'll spin it. Okie dokie. Okie dokie okie. Alright, a little on the threads, keep shit from seizing up and go in there nicely. I did run my wire wheel on these two. Like I said, I do that on just about everything. No, that's way too much. Just a dabble do you, dabble do you. Give some back to earth. Alright. Some more back to earth. Okie dokie okie. Slide them in and tighten them up. And you're golden. Just like that. Like a glove. Okie dokie. Bam. Now, when you get back in your truck or car or vehicle or whatever you just did your brakes on, you have no brakes. Before you go anywhere, before you put it in gear, pump your brakes. Get that fluid built back up, because when we pressed that piston in on the caliper, it pressed all the brake juice back into the reservoir. So it's just sitting empty right now, and you'll probably forget. I forget now and again, and then you'll go to drive away and go, oh no, oh man, my brakes ain't working. So don't do that. Be smarter than me. No, you probably didn't think it was possible to be smarter than me, but It sure is. And yeah, I mean, just remember how, I don't know what torque spec is on these, but just remember how tight it was when you took it apart, and do that. That's what I do. I ain't ever had a problem. You only need torque wrenches for building engines. Everything else is just be smart. But alright, well, get this last one here tightened up and you're done, man. Throw your tires back on, take her off the jack stands, start her up, pump the brakes, and then enjoy being able to stop. I know I enjoy it every time I'm able to stop, and I think you will too. Alright, well, that's the news from Lake Will Be Gone, where the women are strong, the men are good looking, and the children are slightly above average. So until next time, you know, be good, keep your stick on the ice, and we're going to keep partying on the weberosa. So we'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe.